Had some things on my mind regarding accountability in the sport of boxing today. Accountability is something that lacks. I've been watching the Brian Norman Jr. saga unfold slowly. Like I've been kind of like peeking at it, looking at it, but I've seen enough that I'm pretty well versed in what's going on. Brian Norman Sr. was very disrespectful of the Haney family and the build up to his fight with Devin. He was very disrespectful. Senior was, and it kind of rubbed off on Junior, which was unfortunate because I never really saw Junior as the disrespectful, trash talking, downplay somebody's skills type. But it's clear that a lot of the stuff he said was by way of his dad or whatever. You know what I mean? Like some of the stuff that he was repeating, some of the stuff he was saying was like to me repeat of what his dad was saying. And I didn't really think that Brian Jr. necessarily felt that way, but I think he got convinced to be that way. So looking at it from this perspective, seeing his dad say that if he's not going to be the head in his corner going forward, that he wants nothing to do with it. That's sour grapes. Is disrespectful. I think that Brian Jr. took a step back as a man himself and just saw some things he wanted to make changes around. And one of those things was the attention that his dad brings. His dad helped sell a fight, but selling a fight is just half the battle. You can sell the fight and lose and still remain the person that you were before you lost. Problem is his dad can't take a loss, and even after the loss, he went on this sore loser tour. And I'm sure his son, felt a way about it. You know what I mean? Like you went on this tour telling everybody, that I didn't execute the game plan, or he didn't do what I told him to do. I had a good game plan. You didn't have a good game plan. You didn't have any game plan. I mean, I guess you had one. You told your son to go in there and beat his ass. That's not really a good bit of advice to give somebody when they're fighting a level fighter. You disregarded Devin's skills. You thought that Devin was a mark. You thought you hit a lick, and that was the direction you chose to go in. You told your son to go beat him up. Well, the problem is when you tell somebody to go beat somebody up that can fight, that person is going to fight back. And when that person puts up resistance and the only game plan was to beat his ass, what do you have left? You have nothing. You had no other game plan. It's not like, all right, we're going to try to beat his ass first, and if that don't work, we'll just outbox him. Nah, I mean, you gave him bad advice and he got beat. It is what it is. But instead of, being quiet about it, like I said in a lot of different comments, bro, be quiet and just go spend time with your family. Like your son needs you now more than ever. And you sitting up here in Mill City continuing to downplay the skills of Devin Haney, who just skunked your son. Your son may not have won a round. I can't remember. I don't even know if he won a round. Um, but whatever. It is what it is. That's the first bit of accountability. The second bit of accountability, it's not so much about Gervonta Davis. I know y'all hate when I say his name, but that's fine. Whatever. He'll be all right. But his fans continue to push the narrative that Jake Paul somehow set this up. First it was Jake Paul, then I heard Turkey set it up, then I heard Terrence Crawford set him up, and that's why he's in trouble now. Let me ask you a question. You think Terrence Crawford, Turkey Al-Sheikh, and Jake Paul know who Gervonta's dating? You think these guys are elaborate enough to make this girl do something or say something which would incite Tank to leave his home in the wee hours of the morning to go to this club and snatch this girl up? You think these guys are that good at setting up a plot that they can get that done? Come on, y'all got to use your head. At some point, y'all got to realize who Tank is. And did Terrence Crawford, Turkey, and Jake Paul set him up the other 3 or 4 times he was accused of these things? No, it's just this time. The bottom line is your boy doesn't know how to keep his hands to himself. He's controlling. He's possessive. He thinks that if he tells a woman to do something, she needs to do what he says, or it's just, it's my way or the highway. You can't grab people by their throat. You can't grab them by the back of their head. You can't do none of that stuff. And when I hear his fans saying shit like, oh, he need to go on the run, you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy talk to me. Or he shouldn't turn himself in, that's crazy talk. Or why the U.S. Marshals involved? The reason they're involved is because he won't turn himself in. If you guys would implore him to turn himself in, this can get started and get over with sooner than later. Personally, I want him to turn himself in because I don't know the type of head state he's in right now, with the loss of his grandma and the loss of all the money with the Jake Paul fight, things like that. You don't know where his head is. And as much as I'm not a fan of the boxer, the person, I have compassion for people, right? And I would like to see him turn himself in and, pick up the pieces and get this thing right and maybe enter the ring one day in a better headspace. But the way he's living right now, he gonna get somebody hurt. Hopefully not himself. I'm sitting here looking at it and he just won't turn himself in, and it sucks because every minute that passes, he becomes more of a danger to himself. Do I think he'll attack the police or anything like that? Nah, I don't think he's that, that out of control. But I do think that he could, you know, potentially try to harm himself. And that's one of my biggest fears. You know what I mean? I don't want him to hurt himself. I mean, go step forward, deal with what you got to deal with. And step forward, deal with what you got to deal with. And, you know, we move from there. But the way you're moving right now, bro, is dangerous. It's not good for you. It's not good for your kids. It's not really good for anybody. But we're going to see how this thing play out, man. I'm going to jump off of here. I was going to do a longer joint, but I didn't really feel like it. So I'm going to get with y'all, man. You know, good luck to Tank with this situation. Hopefully he finds his way out of it and does better for himself. And if you're not going to do better for yourself, do better for your kids, bro.